Good afternoon, Phillies and Gentlecolts, ladies and gentlemen. This is PMV Today host Synergy, and you're listening to PMV Today's Spotlight podcast. This time I'll be talking with DagaYemar, a prophetic PMV artist known for his innumerable Disney PMVs and his epic 45-minute-long Dr. Horrible pony dub that was broadcasted last year at BronyCon. He's best known for This Is Halloween and Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, two PMVs that added a bit of pony to those beloved musical classics. But enough of my obsessive monologuing. Daga, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Hello, hello, hello. All right, awesome. I'm really glad to be able to talk to you today.
Glad to be here.
Excellent. Let's get into the questions. So I guess we'll start off, brief. Where are you from exactly?
I'm up in New England, not too far outside of Boston, Massachusetts.
All right. And I'm wondering now, listening to your hearing or seeing your username, DagaYemar. Is there a story behind it?
Quite a bit of a story, but more of a mystery if you want to go into it.
Yes, Sorry?
Go ahead.
Yes, that's true. And we were talking earlier on today, you'd mentioned that it was a scramble of two words, re-scrambled it into other words. And when I tried dissecting it in the time I had today, I got something along the lines of DagaYemar. But I have a feeling that isn't it. Is that correct?
Not even close.
Well, there you have it. There's another name you can pull out of it then, a DagaYemar. All right.
Better than some I've heard, honestly.
Oh, really? That's going to be an interesting talk later then. Okay, so how did you get into this fandom?
That was back in December 2011. A friend of mine was over at my house, just hanging out, and he's had wanted to show this new show he'd found. He'd gotten hold of the first season and a half of episodes, and he was giving them to one of my other friends, and I said I'd like to have them too. So I put them on a flash drive, handed them to me, and they kind of sat on my computer until Christmas Eve. I was over at my parents' house late at night. Had trouble getting to sleep. You know how it goes, Christmas
Yeah.
Eve kind of thing. So decided to just watch the first episode, take a look and see what it's like. 3 hours later, I'm 10 episodes in, and I'm thinking, hey, I'm going to have to wake up in a few hours. Was kind of caught from there. Early Christmas gift.
Excellent. And how did you get making into the PMVs? I mean, you could have gotten into, drawing, you could have done writing, and I've actually heard you do have a writing account on FilmFiction. Is that correct?
Yes, I do.
Excellent. And we might be able to touch more into that later on in the interview. But now, PMVs, I'm wondering, how did you get into making PMVs?
Well, that happened a couple weeks afterwards when after the Christmas thing. I was watching in my living room, and my roommate looked over my shoulder and asked, "Is that Q?" We were watching Discord, of course. So I told him it was, and he got into watching them. And by the time he'd caught up, he was as big into it as I was. And we got into a little competition. We decided to see which one of us would get get featured on Equestria Daily first. We get into things kind of big.
All right.
So when he was off doing his thing, I tried to think of what I can do, and I made a couple of AMVs prior to this, mostly Digimon stuff.
Okay.
But it occurred to me, I have a new TV show on my computer. Why don't I go back to that? So I popped in the song. What was the song again? It's the end of the world as we know it.
Good song.
Good song, easy to do, lots of visual things I could connect up with. So banged it out, uploaded it to YouTube, banned everywhere.
Oh.
Wasn't allowed in any country, copyright claims, completely shut the thing down. So I sit there looking at my computer saying, what songs do I have that YouTube will allow? And if there's one thing my computer is full of, it's Disney music. So I made up a Disney song, I believe it was That's How You Know from Enchanted, and I've kind of just been coasting the Disney thing since.
Yeah, and that's definitely an amazing trend you've gone into, and I think that's really helped establish your uniqueness. I don't know many others who are as consistent with these Disney PMVs as you are.
I attempt to keep the same cast for the whole movies. It makes the videos tighter, more focused.
Yeah,
Also
of
gives
course.
me a bit of an easy time thinking up who's going to be singing in each one if I have a set cast going into it.
Okay, interesting then. Do you have anything else to mention how you started the PMVs, or was it just kind of sailing, smooth sailing from then on?
Well, other than to say I lost my competition with my roommate.
He got up on Equestria Daily?
When he
Oh,
wrote Boast Busted.
oh,
I am
he's
room
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters, yes. I'm roommates with Rainbow Double Dash.
Oh, whoa! Now that's a
Yeah.
writer.
So I
Wow.
guess you could say the Looniverse was also born from this.
Oh, brilliant. That's fantastic. I envy you now. All right. You know what? And I really want to learn more about this, but I want to focus on the PMVs for this segment at least.
Of
Um,
course.
let's move along in the interview then. So you've seen all the episodes of My Little Pony. What is maybe your favorite character, or maybe your favorite episode in particular, if you can't think of a single like a character, or what's your favorite thing about MLP?
Honestly, my favorite character, I like the underdog. So for the longest time, I liked Rarity, I liked Applejack. But more and more, I find that I look forward to the background ponies showing up more than I do the main cast.
Mm.
Things like Vinyl or Big Mac, DJ, DJ Pony. Every time they pop up in the background, it perks me up a bit,
Yeah, of course.
catches my interest.
It's really nice to see that the people who are making the show are kind of giving tipping their hat very subtly to the community. I think that's awesome.
Of course.
Yeah. All right. So fantastic. I got to know you a bit better. I'd like to move into some of the more core questions, if you don't mind.
Go on.
Okay. So what do you want to bring to your audience in comparison to other PNV artists? So what about it do you want? What do you want to bring to your audience?
I like to bring as much of the original movies into it as I can.
You're referring to the Disney movies, yes?
The Disney movies,
Okay.
yes. When I make PMVs, I make them in sets. I take one Disney movie at a time, take out all the songs, and do them in order, pretty much as I can, giving them all the attention they deserve, all the props. I attempt to make them as faithful as possible.
Okay, so it's faithful to the song that you're putting the pony characters in position for.
I like to imagine it more as the ponies are putting on the play. They're the
Oh.
ones creating the movie themselves, and they're the ones getting dressed up. They're the ones doing the songs, and I'm just the director allowing them to do it.
Oh, well, that's a very unique view on things, and that would explain how you can put out videos so often. I never even thought of that in that way.
Hmm.
Okay, interesting. So, did you have any influences? And if you did, what were your influences?
Well, AMVs for the most part. I've been big into anime and so forth for decades now, actually, now that I think about it. I've been going to local anime con, Anime Boston, for years, ever since the first one. And the best part I loved about those was always the AMV contests and the AMV showrooms and so forth. I'd spend entire days in there watching the stuff. So I have a good grasp of timing, of cinematics, of when things should happen, when in a beat the scene should flip to a different scene.
Okay.
But
All right.
mostly pretty much from everywhere. I have no direct experience with any of this. I
Of
am a
course.
viewer.
Of course, but and you do learn from looking at others who, achieve more than you, or it's always great. I mean, any modern and prolific, musician in the world, right? They always have their influences and their inspirations, and they're constantly striving to match and then surpass those influences.
Mm.
Would you say that might be, one of like that's an element of how you're influenced?
Well, I wouldn't put it as poetically as you did, of course, but it sounds about right.
All right, excellent. So, I'm curious. What is the creative process that you want to go to make your animations? And I suppose I'm referring to the softwares because you've already mentioned how what's going on in your mind. How about putting it on your computer and making it into the image you have in your mind?
Well, I answered this at BronyCon last time, but I do not have any real fancy computer program for this.
Hmm.
I tried a couple. I've got Adobe Premiere, I've got Lightworks on my computer, but I could never really get them to work. Everything I do is made off of Windows Live Movie Maker, which is
Is that
the
freeware?
easiest program to use.
Wow, that's impressive then, especially of the variety of things you've put out. I mean, it's not boring. It doesn't really even seem like a low quality presentation. So are you saying then that you don't really necessarily need a really high and fancy, software to make a decent PMV?
Oh no, you can do plenty with what's available to you. I am probably living proof of that. From the very beginning till right up to now, I've been using the simplest tool possible to make my stuff.
Wow, and that's freeware, isn't it? Like it's you don't have to buy this program.
Came with my computer.
Oh, well, that's brilliant. Okay. So I suppose the next question I'd like to ask is, about a uniqueness and how do you establish uniqueness in your work? Clearly, we have the correlation with Disney and with ponies, but do you do anything? Maybe talk about like say technical choices, or character choices or thematic choices.
I think character choices are probably what I'm known for best, especially when I start a movie. The first song is almost never has one of the main characters on, and my viewers just love to throw out wild guesses as to who's going to be the pony playing this time around.
Okay.
I put a lot of analytical thought into ponies' personalities as they are in comparison to the Disney characters, just to make sure I have them exactly down right. I feel I feel it's more that if you can understand who the characters in the Disney films are, you'd be able to, if they're matched up with a pony who's just like them, the PMV is made easier. It flows smoother, it sounds more natural coming from them. It makes everything a lot easier if you can just characterize it correctly.
All right. And okay, so you explained that you kind of think I want to portray Simba, and I want to think how Simba is in the Disney movie, and then I want to think how a pony from My Little Pony is going to make the closest connection to the two. Yes.
Gotta see which one is as close to them as possible. What motivates Simba? What does Simba accomplish in the movie? How does he speak? How does he act? And then you look to My Little Pony and see who also acts that way, who also thinks that way, who also is, in Simba's case, a little brash, a little headstrong, sure of himself, willing to go out there for his friends, but really needs the kick in the pants to let them know that their friends need the help in the first
Oh,
place.
of course.
And as the set proves, it was Rainbow Dash at the time.
Well, that's a really interesting thing that you do there. That's fascinating. As an aside, I'm kind of thinking now. I'm musing. Do you have any like of your top five like favorite Disney movies that you could just watch over and over again?
Oh, definitely. Uh, well, Frozen's the popular one right now, but that's mostly because it's in theaters, and
Would you like to build a snowman?
of course I would. I have, probably. Not a snow we have outside.
Yeah, I know.
But beyond the popular ones, I gotta say the Aladdin trilogy holds a special place for me. Not even just the original, all three of them.
Really, and that's impressive because sometimes movies weaken as as they add on new movies to the to the original story.
Aladdin holds together. The second one maybe was weak, but the third one is probably my favorite out of them, even more than the first.
Okay. Excellent. That was just thank you for feeding that musing part of me. We'll get back to the actual PMV related stuff now. All right, so I'm wondering, you're very prophetic. You very prophetic. You very much, you put a lot out. I'm wondering, of all these videos you're putting out, are there any difficulties you've encountered, and how have you overcome them? And I'm referring to say inspiration, and I'm not going to really mention technical because it seems as though you understand your software well.
Hmm. Uh, The hardest things for me have always been, well, older songs, I suppose is the way to put it. Since I work primarily with Disney, I've gotten to know a feel of the music that they work with,
Mm,
and it has changed over the years. A lot
of
of the
course.
older movies and songs tended to be a bit more abstract, and it's a lot harder for me to work with abstract lyrics than it is for concrete ones.
And so you said the older songs have a lot more abstract to it?
That's sort of why I've left a lot of the old movies be for now. I'm going to have to
Okay.
get to them soon, of course, but I'm a bit better than I was back then, so I hope I can actually handle them now.
Yeah, that would be excellent. I mean, I'm thinking off the top of my head, Bambi, which I don't know if there's many actual musical compositions, but say, The Fox and the Hound has
Mm,
some pretty epic stuff. I love The Fox and the Hound, and that's why I'm loving talking to you because I think we share the love of Disney. All right. Okay, so you're explaining that the troubles that you've had were based around the complexity or the strangeness of the song you were trying to make the PMV based off of.
it's a lot easier. Like I said earlier, I view them as performing a play,
Mm,
like getting up on stage and singing these songs, which is why most of my songs do the whole lip sync thing.
yes.
But the further back you go into Disney, the less the songs are about things and more just them singing.
Okay.
So there's less visuals for me to use. Again, I don't have a very complicated program, so lip syncing doesn't always work for me. So the more often there's less of that they're singing about, and the more that they're just singing, the more
Mm.
I have to try and lip sync, and that just doesn't look so good.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. I'm curious. So, like I said, and again, you've put out so many videos, but there must be one video that you'd think was the hardest project. What is the hardest project you've worked on?
Uh, Actually, a recent one. I just recently finished Mary Poppins, and number of songs aside, that the movie has almost 20 songs, so that was a really long set for me.
Okay.
But in it was one song in particular, "Step in Time." Not one you'd think that would be very hard, but uh, I just kind of blanked on it. I didn't know what to do with it for a long time. Everything I tried didn't seem to be working.
Okay. So that was that
Not
one. That was that one particular PMV, or that one particular
it's
song.
it's weird. You get blindsided by which ones are going to be hard and which ones won't. I thought "Chim Chim Cheree" uh, from the same movie would be difficult, but I did that one in under a day. It didn't take me more than a couple hours.
Okay.
And then again, I thought "Step in Time" would be simple, but I was blindsided by it. You never really know until you try which ones are going to be hard or not.
Okay. Cool. Now, as a final kind of closing question, then we can probably talk about whatever afterwards. What do you plan to do in
Hmm.
the future?
I've got a couple ideas. I've got plenty of Disney to go through, as I said. But outside of that, well, I'm going to be attempting to get back into BronyCon again with a new panel.
What's that going to be about?
I've decided to try Saturday Morning Ponies, a collection of episodes from various cartoons that I'll completely ponify, much like I did with Dr. Horrible's Sing Along blog last time.
Mm-hmm.
Just current titles include Powerpuff Girls, Total Drama Island, Gravity Falls, shows like that, just to get a whole traditional cartoon block out of it.
Okay. And yeah, do you see this going to be would you think this is going to be, more challenging, less challenging than what you've done so far?
Probably more challenging, if nothing else, because, well, you need props, I suppose, is the way to put it. It's more than just casting the characters or casting the scene like I usually do. You got to have, they all have to be in the same building. If half of an episode takes place by the pool, you got to make sure the scenes are going to be outside, preferably near water. And there's not a whole lot of that in the show. So you got to pick and choose carefully, I suppose, when it comes to choosing the episodes.
Yeah, that will definitely be a minefield. Well, I definitely wish you luck on that. That's going to be interesting, and I really do hope that you get that panel at BronyCon. I mean, it beats waiting in the 8-hour long line if you're not a panelist.
Oh yes.
Hell, I'd make
Even
my own group just to get into the short line.
if even if I don't get the panel, I'm still going to do the episodes.
Yeah,
I'm
I totally
halfway
understand.
through one of them already.
Which one's that? Am I allowed to ask that?
That's Total Drama Island, actually.
Are you going to start like at episode 1 and go through like you've been doing with? I'm thinking when you mentioned like you have sets of Disney where you pick a movie, do all the songs, move on. So are you going to start at episode 1 and then move on?
For Total Drama, I'll probably start in episode 1, if nothing else, because that's a very easy episode to ponify with everyone being introduced.
Mm-hmm.
But for the rest of them, well, the rest of them are more. The rest of the shows I've picked are more episodic. I could probably start anywhere I wanted to. So I might just find one that fits better than trying to force something that's difficult.
Okay. All right. Well then, yeah. Well, good luck with that. Let's see. Do we have any questions from the audience? Marcus, do we have any questions from the audience? All right. Doesn't seem like we have any questions from the audience. Do you have anything you'd like to? Actually, you know what? I would like to ask you one final thing.
Oh, go ahead.
If you were to give a piece of advice to the people who are listening, the people who will be listening, and upstarts, people who want to start making PMVs, what would that advice be?
Go ahead and do whatever you feel that you can do. The very first PMV I made, and I'm not talking about the one that was banned, that's how you know the Disney one, only had about 60 views during the first month or so. Total of 4 comments. Hardly anyone saw it, but I still treasure every comment that was sent, every view that was given for it. It was such a huge boost of confidence that anyone could see it. And honestly, no matter how small you start, this is a great fandom to grow in. We are a bunch of very nice, very kind people. So try. Nothing can go wrong if you try.
Of course, of course, and it's really true. And I suppose I want to tack on something to that because I firmly believe in what you're saying is the truth. With fame and all these things that people are obsessed with, joining into the Brony fandom, understand that yes, there definitely is the possibility of you getting out there, getting known, the thousands of views, just as you'd envision it. However, you can't expect that. What you need to do, ladies and gentlemen, fillies and gentlecolts, however you would like to be addressed, what you need to do is make PMVs, write stories, make art because you like to do that, and fame will definitely come. If not for many people coming in, you'll have a good sense of self. You yourself will feel famous because you've made an accomplishment, you've done this and you've done that. Um, I mean, that's personally what I'm believing in, and we always have to remember, guys, that there's no such thing as a Hollywood or a Las Vegas in the brony fandom. We don't have people who are above us because in all reality, we are all bronies in the end. I think that's my 10 cents, 4 cents, 2 bits, whatever you'd like to put the money on. Um, and I think that's me signing off as well. There you have it, folks. DagaYemar with an excellent interview, and I do wish you all a good night.